I have to say, during these unimaginable times, I am heartened to see tens of millions of wide-awake people who have not been guzzling the Kool-Aid of coup d'etat cheerleading, as if George Washington really intended for us to have a king again. We're given to believe that the entire country is filled with knuckle-walking mountebanks who have expressed a complicated mandate when they barely packed the holes in their jeans. Millions of people whose IQ barely ticks above 80 who have overwhelmingly re-elected the Red Lobster. And we now learn from friend of the Cary Harrison files that BBC investigator reporter Greg Palast has unearthed some 3 million Democratic votes that were purged by multiple secretaries of state. We imagine this to be some sort of secret cabal, but we forget Citizens United makes all outcomes extremely legitimate, legal, and therefore an absolutely expected result. One side of the political equation paid full attention and took complete advantage of the Supreme Court decision to wipe out voting protections going back to the 1960s, which created a favorite constituency. If you hate the outcome, it's a call to action to be more engaged in your government and remind them that they serve at your pleasure, not the other way around. Now, a Fox and Friends weekend anchor controls the entire Pacific Fleet. The party, despite absolute campaign promises to keep America out of foreign wars, has threatened to use our military against our North and South allies, both Canada and Mexico, even invading territory of the sovereign country of Denmark, part of the EU, a NATO partner. What if Canada said it would annex the top third of the United States? Would we roll over for that? So, if you can violate the most basic of your campaign promises, why would anything else actually look, smell, or turn out the way it was promised? It is true that we are now guided by the least skilled among us, hoodwinked by promises of gold and swimming pools and movie stars and cheap cornflakes. Meanwhile, the White House has clearly stated that it plans to turn the entire Gaza Strip into a giant commercial real estate venture and hotel region for profit. In what previously was known as colonization, later nation building, and now good old-fashioned real estate development and grab after depopulating nearly 2 million people who have lived there for over 1,000 years. The Cary Harrison files broke a story some 6 months ago about the value of over $6 billion in untapped oil reserves sat ready to be exploited off of the Gaza Marine. Predictably, that remains an unspoken set of spoils, much as the pumping oil Middle East derricks were never part of the published nation-building result after invading Iraq. Even the new acting Undersecretary of the new State Department, a Mr. Darren Beatty said recently, tweeted, "Competent white men must be in charge if you want things to work." This is a linguistic trick to point out that white men are naturally by design and DNA the most competent, and specifically excludes 100% of all women on the planet and all other men who are not white and likely may not even be considered men. Soon, under certain evolving laws, everybody else has already been right-click deleted and will remain voiceless and powerless going forward. Yet, I'm further heartened by seeing brilliant satirical memes and having received more heads-up messages from you than I can even begin to answer. It's fantastic, and none of this is coming from the old guard Democratic Party, but from you, thousands of clever and brilliant sentient people. And it is hugely hopeful that the newly named vice chair of the Democratic National Committee is 25-year-old David Hogg, the young gun control activist and student survivor of the Stoneman Douglas High School shooting. We are literally beginning to see a reboot of the spineless and withered Pelosi-era party of pabulum promises and paltry performance. Young blood has literally risen up in front of our eyes, and there's a good shot that whatever is left of a constitutional pluralism will actually look and act like proper resistance at every intended overreach. My ancestors were framers of the Constitution and fought in the revolution against the tyrant king of England. One thing for sure, if you kill all the worker bees, you end up with a crashing hive and all your billionaire boyfriends will lose their customer base. And then you can watch the angry hornets stinging within the nest. Is this a time in history where we re-engage in the responsibility of active citizenship and guide the mothership? Or do we just wither and vanish as 75% of the government we built over the last 300 years is demolished? so that one guy can have 100% of all the government contract. And you will continue to pay for that pleasure? Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Cary Harrison, for perspective from a founding America family and Mayflower descendant. I believe our perspective still matters.